Hello all of you little demons, Jules here for WhatCulture.com, back again with another episode of the awesomely named and awfully hosted Tues Your Own Adventure, the weekly medieval themed format where I, the crown Jules of WhatCulture.com, take a list chosen by you, the person who is praying that James is back at the editing table today. Not that I have any ill will against Dan Durkin whatsoever, it's just very strange midway through recording last week to be told that a new editor was taking place and it was like, my world, it crumbles like a castle made of sand. Yes, you get to decide what list I dole out to you each and every week. And this week we have none other to thank than GameMan876, a very catchy name there, and their suggestion of ways that the video game industry can improve. Now here's the thing, we all love video games. I assume that you do anyway, otherwise what are you doing here on this channel? But the industry that we actually partake in, it's not exactly rainbow rhythms, my friend. It's not harmonious and full of great vibes. It's actually quite greasy in some places. Ew, gross. I mean, you've got homogeneity, you've got racism, sexism, you've got people within the development units telling people how to do their work in crunch culture situations, and they're not the best people in the world. There is a lot to dislike about this industry. So what we're going to do today is we're actually going to take a positive spin and remember, above all else, we are the true decision makers of the industry, and if we speak with our wallets and call out those making shady practices the norm, we really can have an impact going forward. So that's what we're going to do today. We are going to band together, take a look at some things in the industry that can be improved, and hopefully exit this video to try and make those changes happen. It's going to be a bit more serious than the usual Choose Your Own Adventure fare, but trust me, it will be worth your while in the long run. So with this in mind, I'm Jules, this is WhatCulture.com, and these are 8 ways that the video game industry can definitely improve. And you know the drill by now, say hi to me here in the live chat and pop your suggestions for next week's episode down in the comments section below. So with that in mind, let's get on with the list, shall we? Number 8, lower prices for digital downloads. With the recent closure of the Nintendo 3DS and Wii U e-stores, the conversation once again turns to the age-old debate of digital versus physical copies of video games. And while there are cases for the former allowing for faster loading and the ability to take your game library with you on just one device, the latter presents its benefits in just one sentence. I actually own my game. Whatever side you fall on, there is one thing that we can all agree with, and that is that the price of digital download titles is not something that feels fair, all things considered. Remind me again why I'm paying the same amount for a physical version of this game, and what I get in return is just eating up a huge amount of space on my hard drive? Surely the publisher is saving a ton of production costs when it comes to disc or cartridge creation, as well as packaging, right? Therefore, why aren't the savings passed on to the public? Well, according to some publishers, you're paying for convenience. The convenience of having a non-tangible product, which in reality holds as much water as a bloody sieve. Going forward, publishers must address this. Why is one the same price as the other when this one can be deleted from storefronts and removed at any point in time? It just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And if we're trying to go down the route of conveniency, then maybe we'll conveniently forget to pay for your games in the future. I'm not saying that I support piracy, but I'm just saying some people might. Number 7, reduce lootbox gaming mechanics. Listen, I know I might look it, but I'm not actually a full-blown idiot. I know that lootbox gaming mechanics are not going away anytime soon. It's not like the gaming industry is just suddenly going to wake up one day and say, oh, you know what? All of these predatory transactional stuff that we're doing right now, all of these models that are based around trying to get kids to gamble, that's bad. We don't want to make any more money. That's bad. Let's just do them all a favor, knock it on the head. That's not going to happen. But what we could see going forward if we all push together is proper regulation of these practices. Because if we can reduce and regulate this with like a third-party agency that could be set up to monitor and restrict just how many items could be included in loot boxes, and the decree that they must be at the very least non-gameplay affecting items, then maybe the industry could actually come out the other side for the better. And I don't even think that this is asking for too much, as it would literally safeguard younger players from being involved in predatory gaming practices and remove the stigma that has hit the gaming industry so heavily over the last few years. It is, unfortunately, a facet of gaming that will likely never leave the conversation, yet if we're going to have to live with it, it should at least be controlled and restricted to protect those most susceptible. Number 6, dissolve annualized franchise release models. So the annualized sequel release model is something like death, taxes and mediocre David Spade movies, and that is something that will likely go on ad nauseum. But here's the thing, if you actually take a step back from the situation and look at it, it is very easy to say, what the chuff is going on here? You see, while the likes of FIFA and NBA will churn out new titles each and every year without fail, are they really doing enough to justify a new release? I mean, of course they're not. Something best exemplified when 2K's NBA franchise was called out for literally copy-pasting elements from prior games and not even bothering to update character models and logos. As a result, this relentless churn harms the IP in question, as not enough time is given to developing new elements, and it all feels like a new coat of paint is just being slapped over some rotting facade and propped up with microtransactions. In effect, the annualized model traps players into a progress loop that is constantly undone by the publisher just smashing the reset button with each new release, and as a result, will never be allowed to grow beyond this regurgitation of content. Giving developers a break from this model would actually also help eliminate crunch culture from the workplace wherever it pops up, because you'd be setting deadlines that are actually achievable, not just, man, we've got to smash this out before Christmas, lads, like whatever state it's in, it's got to go. That is a bad sign for the industry. We're never going to see growth if that keeps happening, so this regurgitation needs to stop and everyone needs to calm the hell down. Number 5, tighter mobile gaming regulations. So for those of you not in the know, the mobile video game market is an absolute cesspit. And I'm not saying that for the sake of hyperbole, I'm saying that because it is the pitiful truth, that this is quite literally a hive of scum and villainy which is actively pulling down the gaming industry at large. From horrible asset flip style rip-offs which should have all local lawyers on red alert, to scams that are designed to mine user data and sell on, it's an actual minefield that seems to run with little to no regulation. And making matters worse is that many AAA publishers are adding to the problem rather than standing as a bastion against them, and will gladly turn out terrible video game ports or titles using well-known IP as a hook and bloating them with pay-to-win and freemium bullshit that ruins what little good time there was to be had in the first place. Now, unfortunately, this comes down to a case of gaming ethics, as in truth, these types of games are playing by the admittedly very lax rules put in place by the likes of Google and Apple for their stores, and we're only going to see a change if publishers decide to put in actual effort and not just squirt out 10 to 20 insipid cash grab titles. Instead, they should offer players titles without microtransactions, wait time paywalls, pay-to-win practices, and loot boxes, or at the very least, the marketplace itself needs to impose tighter restrictions that put the consumer first. At the time of recording, it seems like both publishers and the marketplace owners themselves, like Google and Apple, have zero respect for your time and the integrity of what it is to be a video game publisher. I mean, they're literally just putting out these titles and just saying, like, look, listen, it's got Final Fantasy on the front cover, just give us some money, mate. Just give us some money. I'm just going to punch you in the face. Just give me some money. That shouldn't happen. Number 4, give remasters and remakes care and attention. Oh, what's this down here? Oh, it's a picture of the Grand Theft Auto Definitive Edition trilogy thing. I could just literally point to this and just say this should never be allowed to happen. But I will. Go on. Get out of here. With the likes of GTA, the comedically bad Silent Hill HD collection, and the ungodly Warcraft Reforged stinker, the gaming industry has rewarded fans for their devotion and support over the years with titles that resemble utter skipfires, which only serve to burn nostalgic love to cinders. Each of these was lazily churned out to cash in on a beloved IP, and in some cases were developed by sub-companies with no tangible connection to the source material, and thus lack the understanding of what made the title great in the first place. However, as much as this entry is about remasters and remakes being treated with care and respect, it actually also allows me to launch into a tangential point which is just as important, as while it is atrocious and completely unacceptable that these types of remasters bomb the reputation of the game that they're trying to champion, it gets even worse that in many cases, these are the only versions available to the public. With GTA and Warcraft respectively, they basically said, hey, look at this old game that you absolutely love and absolutely cherish, and it just works. That's the best thing. It's a Todd Howard game. It does just work this time around. We're going to get rid of that. We're going to bin that off, and now this is the only version that you can play, the broken, buggy mess that is actually inferior in every single way. Oh, and we're going to charge you near full price for it. Happy? No? Well, who gives a because you can't buy anything else. Now, it's not uncommon for publishers to try and rewrite their own history, but here it was like they copied homework notes from a blurry PNG image of a post-it note 2 minutes before the deadline. Number 3, more diverse video game protagonists. Now, if you are to take even a cursory glance at the world around us, you will see people of different shapes, sizes, colours, religions, and mindsets. Yet when it comes to video games, we're seeming to struggle to find diverse protagonists to lead new tales, to tell these amazing new stories yet to be told to the next generation of video game fans. Now, true, we are making steps. We are seeing some publishers deliver something other than straight white men with buzz cuts, angry expressions, and a subscription to the NRA newsletter, but these are still very much in the minority. It speaks to publishers that are attempting to cater to what they assume to be the biggest demographic, but what it's actually breeding is homogeneity, and it makes every title feel the exact bloody same. With the likes of Hellblade, Celeste, and upcoming titles like Forspoken, we're able to see how diverse characters themselves present the opportunity to tell different stories, to hit emotional beats that otherwise simply couldn't be reached, and that's an essential part of actually growing the industry that we love so much. I want to be part of a gaming community that feels represented and is able to air challenging topic materials such as sexuality, culture, and race. However, this request for change itself comes with a request of its own, as we, the wider gaming public, needs to be open to experiencing these tales and not, say, be an absolute turd who complains that Aloy has hair on the side of her face like any normal person does. This is an aspect of the gaming community that must improve. Number 2, optimized game sizes. 231 gigs. No, that is not the amount of times that the Rolling Stones announced that they would be doing a last ever tour show, but in fact the actual file size of Call of Duty Modern Warfare, which, thanks to updates to its Warzone feature, ballooned the already hungry title to incredulous size and forced many gamers to ask themselves a question they never had before needed to. How the hell am I going to fit this on my hard drive? Unfortunately, thanks to new leaps in technology, this isn't merely an isolated case, what with games now averaging 100 gigabytes as a base install size. And thanks to expansions and updates, this is only ever going to take up more precious real estate. Now, with these gargantuan file sizes comes some obvious issues, but also some rather lazy and even shady practices. Now, the obvious is that you're going to only be able to play like 3 to 4 games on your console at any one time, meaning your actual library of games is much smaller than your download history would dictate. But the shady and stinky issues come from the fact that some publishers appear to be doing this on purpose. To better explain, some clever souls looked into these monolithic installs and found some examples of poor optimization and uncompressed files that are bloating the downloads immensely, and some even linked this to a desire to monopolize your very hard drive. And think about it, if you have to remove like 2 or 3 games from your hard drive in order to put in this one big bad mamma jamma that you just spent about a week downloading, then of course it's going to capture your attention because it's the only game that's on there, so therefore it's the only game you're effectively allowed to play on your own console. Mind games, and bad ones at that. And number 1, actually making sure the game works on launch. I can't believe that in this day and age I have to make such a statement, but yes, going forward, one of the ways that the video game industry can improve is by having games that actually work upon launch. It's literally easier to list games that had a good launch than bad ones, considering just how many of the latter exist. And despite the huge leaps in technology and increases in funding that many franchises have experienced, the first week of play for titles like Cyberpunk, Battlefield 2042, Predator Hunting Grounds, and more were a broken and confusing mess that left many players regretting their purchases immediately. And I ask you, how is this acceptable? Because not only do you have to spend absolutely ages installing the bloody game, and likely a day 1 patch that is usually very, very hefty, but for the game to not even work after that is an absolute disgrace. If a game isn't ready, then don't bloody well release it, simple as. Because as surprising as it might be for publishers to hear, the majority of us gamers are willing to wait for a game if the end result is more polished and actually worth the price of admission. It speaks to a wider problem of crunch development time, of publisher pressure to deliver within optimum release windows like the lucrative Christmas run-up, and of course about the fact that we, at this current point in time, are tolerating these awful practices. This is actively harming the enjoyment we get from the very medium of video games, and it has to stop. And there we go, my friends. Those were 8 ways the video game industry can definitely improve. I hope you enjoyed that, and please let me know what you thought about it down in the comments section below, as well as whether or not you agreed or disagreed with any of the points that I made today. I love reading all of your comments, so just let me know, as well as put your suggestions for next week's episode down there as well. But before I go, I just want to say one thing. Now, when it comes to our own sort of mental well-being, we can always do a bit better. We can always treat ourselves with more kindness and self-respect, because at the end of the day, and this might come as a shock to some of you, you deserve the good things in life, all right? Don't beat yourself up when things are either going badly or going too well, because you don't deserve that. You deserve love, happiness, and success. And don't let anything or anyone else tell you otherwise, all right? You're a massive ledge, and I want you to go up there and utterly smash it today. I believe in you. You need to believe in yourself too. As always, I've been Jules. You have been awesome. Never forget that. And I'll speak to you soon. Bye.